Good afternoon, good morning, and good night. This is Isabel Starck, and welcome to the Empower Hour. So happy to have you here. I wanted to take a moment to just say thank you to everyone who has connected live, sent in their questions, sent in comments and messages via the Facebook group. And I just really want to thank you for actually spending your precious time with me, because I know how valuable the time is. I have a little one, if you don't already know. And what I'm most present to is the fact that the time that I'm with him, I really aim to be with him. And that means sometimes leaving my phone on the counter or forgetting it altogether, and not planning to take a call during the time that we're together, so that he experiences me fully present and that I can also gift myself some downtime. If you're building a business, you know that just by building, you can get lost in it. There can be hours, days, sometimes even weeks that go by, and you can look back and think, what did I accomplish during this time? It feels like every day I woke up, I was busy and I got a lot of things done, but what did I actually get done that propels me forward, that moved me forward and got me closer to my goals? So today we're actually going to talk a little bit about that. As in every episode that we've had, a lot of the questions that come up have to do with time management and how to really balance the time between your personal life and your business life. So we'll definitely take some time out for that. Before we get totally started, first of all, I'm coming to you from my office space. So as you can see, things are a little bit different in the background, but we are experiencing some rain here in Toronto, and my other room was just completely dark, and I thought you guys needed a little bit of brightness, so here we are. So first, some housekeeping tips. If you are joining us through the YouTube live stream, number one, you have about a 30 to 60 second delay in watching. And if you actually wanted to ask a question, what you would need to do is you would need to connect via Google+. And the way to do that is to click on the box that's here at the bottom, and it says join the conversation. So click on that, another window will open up, and you will be redirected to the Google+ page, which is this page. And by doing so, up in the either your right or your left hand corner, you'll see 9 squares. They're the Google squares. If you just hover over that, you will actually see the applications that are available during this live broadcast. And one of them is called Q&A. The Q&A is basically a place where you can type in your question. I can read it aloud as we're here live and address it. So if you would like to ask a question again, please hover over the 9 squares, select the app that's Q&A. A window will actually open up, a side panel, and you can type in your questions directly there. So thank you. So to get us started, take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. It's interesting how just taking a moment, seconds literally, to take a deep breath, really fill your lungs, it really, just the amount of power it has to reground you in the space that you're at, the intention that you set forth, and it really kind of clarifies things in front of you. Maybe you're experiencing a really difficult time with, I don't know, somebody at a store or maybe a loved one, and you're just feeling, you're feeling the tension that's between the two, and you're starting to feel your blood boil. And as a lot of people say, it's better to think about what you're going to say before it spills out of your mouth. And sometimes just really taking a deep breath can help. I know for myself, I do practice that. I also practice completely removing myself from the situation, and that works a lot better when we're at home. If we're having some kind of issue with a family member on the phone or here in person, and it's just really good to get a different, just a change in environment. So just take a look at something different, go outside, get some fresh air, And it really helps to ground you and remind you your place in that situation. If it's an argument, maybe your place and what you brought to the argument, or if you're haggling over something at a store, it could just be that is it really worth it? Like, your time is valuable. That's why I'm so grateful that you're actually here, because I know that spending 30 minutes, an hour with me during your work week is valuable to you. And I aim to always give you value and help answer your questions to help you just live a better life, a happier life, because that's what life is really all about. If we were put on this earth to be unhappy and miserable, I don't think that would make God happy. We are supposed to be reflections of God, and I believe that. We are His full expression. So we are meant to actually live our full expression. And so I hope that resonates with you. Some people call Him God, some people call Him universe, and it's whatever it is for you. It could be Buddha, whatnot. So Ganesh. I know there's so many different names that we can give to that one almighty, powerful source. And our life is just really an expression of that source. So thanks for regrounding with me. I see a few of you guys have actually connected, so I'm just going to read or tell you guys a little bit again about connecting with me live. If you are connecting live and you're watching actually through the YouTube channel and you would like to ask a question, what you'll need to do is select the box here at the bottom. It says join the conversation. Click on that. You'll be taken to the you'll be taken to the Google Plus screen, and there will be 9 squares either on your right or on your left of your screen. Hover over that, select the Q&A app. By clicking that, you'll have a side panel open up either on your left or your right, and you can type in your question and I will answer live. So thank you all for joining. I did have just a few notes, just so you guys know, to kind of keep me on track, and about the few things that I wanted to chat with you about today. And one of them, the first one that actually comes up, is what's holding you back. When we take a look at what we are doing in life, there could be blocks. Most likely there are blocks. And our job to live a fruitful life is to actually discover those blocks. I know that I did spend a number of years maybe denying my blocks, or just thinking I am who I am and this is just how you have to deal with me. But that didn't foster any growth. When I took the time and I felt safe enough to be able to dive into what my blocks were, is when I was able to actually sprout and bloom. Some of the blocks that come up, for myself included, are the biggest one in business especially, is the fear of failure. The fear of failure is huge. It can prevent you from ever even launching. Wondering, who's going to criticize you, what they're going to say, how they're going to make you feel. What's your family going to say? How about all the friends that you've had? Or, say you've been in a certain industry and then all of a sudden you come out and you're a total spiritual coach and you're all woo-woo. It's like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? Well, that is your true expression for, I'm pretty certain, almost 100%, that any time that you've interacted with anybody in your business, if you were in corporate before, any other interaction, a little piece of you always came out. Even if you were in a board meeting and you were trying to, look the part and be very professional, make sure you had the right words to say to impress the people next to you, a little bit of you always came out, and people are attracted to that. They can feel the real you. I'm sure you've probably noticed it with being in a meeting, for example, or at a conference where, like that, you start a conversation with somebody and this is not really them, or there's something behind those eyes. The eyes say so much. So I would say, for you to feel confident in this whole idea of being criticized, is just really knowing that people always will connect within you. And that's probably what attracts people to you. and you to them, is you really like what they're saying, you really like what they're portraying and how they're being in the world. So I really hope that your fear of failure will maybe not completely go away, but that you will be able to embrace it really and just really accept where it is that you are in life and know that you're doing your all-time best to put your business out there, to put yourself out there, to be the best mom you can be, whatever it is, fill in the blank, but don't allow it to hold you back and just really keep you in this little box that, you know, you're not serving anybody if you're pretending to be somebody. Just be yourself. The other thing that comes up with holding you back is the lack of self-confidence. Your self-confidence, your lack of knowledge, your lack of experience. You know, at some point, we always have a lack. And the best way to honestly kind of attack that is to get more self-confidence. Do what you have to do to feel confident. Maybe there is an activity that you do that you are like, you know, nobody beats you. Maybe you're an arm wrestler. Maybe you know, you're playing Xbox and there's like nobody who can beat you in a certain level. Whatever it is, in business, like maybe you always are the one who comes up with the greatest ideas. But whatever it is that you have confidence in, kind of go back to that feeling, kind of let it sit in with you so you can remind yourself that, you know, I am really confident in this area of my life. And whatever those feelings are, you just bring those feelings with you into the space where you're not feeling confident. That, I will say, will really help you to allow yourself to kind of bloom and blossom and share your best with the world. Now, the lack of experience. With lack of experience, the easiest way to get through that is actually through getting experience. A lot of us are in the coaching world, and a lot of us, I know, I wrote about this recently, and a lot of us are, you know, opting in for certain ebooks and exercises and challenges and whatnot because we're constantly learning. Doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing to do, but what it does mean is like we're constantly learning. We're seeking out. If you are a life coach or a business coach or any kind of coach, and even in business, I know it can become stagnant in your business because you feel like you just know everything about what it is that you're offering. But a mind that stops learning becomes stagnant. It's almost like an atrophy if you're in the health business. You know, you're working at your muscles and then you stop using them for a while and they atrophy. They're not like moving anymore. Like they're not growing. There's nothing that's challenging them. So with that, you know, just remember to keep working that muscle, because even though a muscle might be atrophied, you can always give it a little bit more oxygen, give it a little bit more tension, and you can actually allow it to kind of break and expand and grow. That's basically what happens with muscles. So by challenging them, by pushing them to their limits and allowing some little tiny stress fractures to happen within the muscle is when they actually grow. When they actually start to heal, they get a little bit bigger. So I hope that analogy kind of was clear. So again, grounding. I'll take a little break again and just kind of remind everybody who's joined in a little bit late that if you would like to join the conversation and ask a question, I am available here to answer your questions. That's why we're here live. So if you're on YouTube, what you'll want to do is you'll want to select the square down here at the bottom that says join the conversation. And what that'll do is it'll take you to the Google Plus page. And at the Google Plus page up here, either on the right or on the left, you will see 9 squares. They're the Google Plus squares. And if you hover over that, a little box will open up that says Q&A. Click on Q&A and a side panel will open up where you can actually type in your questions. So please feel free to type in your questions. Oh, hey there. Hi, Lola. How are you? Very happy to have you here. So that's the way you connect. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to grab a quick drink of water. We need to stay hydrated, right? You should probably too. So we were talking about fears of success, or actually we're talking about fears of failure, fears of well, just knowledge, not having the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience, and the way you can actually get experience is just by getting out there and doing. That's where we left off. If you have a fear of lack of experience, that's like the easiest one that you could ever fix. And that's really because you can go out anywhere and get more knowledge. What I will say about that is that you have to be careful as to where you're getting your knowledge. A lot of people go to university or college, and normally what's textbook taught is the Holy Grail. That's what we all learn by. There are a lot of services online that are offering lots of knowledge base, and a lot of business people online who are offering their experience. One thing to remember and just to really remind yourself of, and even with the tips that I give, are there tips that maybe I lived through, and the ones from anybody else are tips that they lived through, their experiences. And each experience that you have is going to just be very unique to the circumstances. I was having a conversation with somebody about business, and they were saying, well, there's a formula of business, and you just apply it, and normally that's just how business works, and that's true. But for the most part, if you can't necessarily just implant somebody into any business and have it work, even if they follow through with all the exercises, that's the reason that most businesses actually fail in the first 18 months. Especially you have people jumping out of school and thinking, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and I'm textbook taught, and I know exactly steps A through Z what to do, and I'm going to follow through, and I'm going to be a success. It doesn't work that way, because to be in business, to be able to offer what it is that you're selling, it's not just about X, Y, Z. It's you bring a certain element. You as a person, you as a personality, you as your energy actually brings a specific task to actually building your business. So again, your lack of experience can always be worked on. Just be careful as to where it is that you're receiving it. I know personally, some of the places that I've gotten knowledge, I've even quoted people that were mentors of mine or somebody I looked up to, until I thought, you know what, I'm gonna just double check that. And I went and did some research, and what I was quoting from this person was actually wrong. So you obviously can't totally second guess yourself all the time, but just be wary of the sources that you're receiving knowledge from. And I mean, the easiest part is just to make sure that they actually went through it themselves, or that they have some experience with that. So I hope that helps on the experience side. Next, let's see if we have any questions over here. Remember to type in your questions into the box, and I'm happy to answer. We'll keep them just kind of lined up here as needed. All right, there we go. All right, so next, the last fear, and I already hinted to it, so you probably caught it, was actually the fear of success. Sorry, I had a question come in. I'm going to pop over there. I'm sorry, I do not speak French. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I speak Spanish. Hablo español, pero no entiendo francés. Lo siento. If you speak Spanish, I'm happy to answer in Spanish. So thanks a lot for the question. Again, I hope that we can hear from you either in English or Spanish, and I'm happy to address. So getting back to fears and the fear of success, which probably sounds completely crazy, right? Like, who is afraid of having success? And this, I have to say, it is personal for me, because as I did some work on myself and really realizing what I had to bring forth, I started realizing that one of my biggest fears had to be with allowing myself to really grow and leaving the people that were near me behind. You know, it could be whether it's mainly had to do with my husband or my family and some really good friends. I had a mentor tell all of us that, you know, during the process of self-development and starting your own business, you know, there are some relationships that you'll lose. And obviously the closest ones are the hardest to lose. And you will, you know, really hold on to them as much as you'll almost like strangle them just to make sure that they're not going anywhere. But getting over the fear of success, that's part of the process. If you haven't experienced that yet, you know, kudos to you. I'm grateful that you haven't gone there. But, you know, there might be a time that you do come to that point. And when you do, again, from experience, I can only give you my experience. What I really came to understand was, again, we were created by God, the universe, and we are an expression of them. And God and the universe really put us here to live our best life. And at the end of the day, we're the ones to put meaning to our lives and how we experience all of the things that are happening around us and how we even experience failure and success. So just knowing that the fear that you have because you feel you're going to leave somebody behind or you're going to upstage somebody, it's because of the meaning that you're putting into it. Now, you might be a little bit validated in some cases if you're having conversations with your loved ones or your friends that are telling you, you know, you're just like skyrocketing, or you never have time for me anymore. That's kind of the common one. You never have time for me anymore. It's like we don't ever see each other, and that's reality. Some of those things will happen. But just knowing that you're not necessarily leaving behind your friends, it's the meaning that you're giving to it. So for myself, it just really helped to realize, number one, I was very upfront in the beginning when I started my journey as to, this is what I'm doing now in my life. I love you. I want you to know that going forward, I'm going to have less time to either talk or spend with you. And it's not because I don't want to. It's just that I'm really focused on building the business that I have. And the reason for me building the business is so that I can have a better life and more time to actually spend with my loved ones. And that includes you. So again, really just kind of switching the angle that you're looking through the glass is what I recommend. At least that's what worked for me. And really addressing it with those people, it kind of takes all the questions out of the way. Now, will the person on the receiving end accept it? It depends. You know, it really depends on the type of relationship you have, the type of person they are. You know, hopefully they'll understand that you're working on your growth and you want a better life, and that you're not leaving them behind, but you're just taking kind of a time out to be able to focus and give to yourself. So I hope that helps on any journey. Let's take a look here. I think my French person doesn't speak English. I'm sorry. I am planning on learning, though. I did buy my Rosetta Stone, just so you know, because as you know, I live in Canada, and Canada has 2 national languages, English and French. So I feel since I'm living here, I need to learn both languages, and I am dedicated to learning. So make sure you come back at some point. All right, just quickly cleaning up the chat box here. Lots of funnies, thank you. All right. Just a quick reminder, if you'd like to join the conversation and you're watching through YouTube, click on the box here that says join the conversation. It'll take you into the Google Plus screen, which you will then select either the 9 squares on this section or this section of the screen. Hover over that. You can then select the Q&A app. By selecting that, typing in your questions in the right or left sidebar is where I can see them and actually interact. So please feel free to ask any questions you might have, and hopefully I will do my best, of course, not hopefully. I will do my best to answer them. So we're talking about fear of success. I hope the experiences that I had with fear of success have at least helped a bit in your journey, if you have experienced that before. So the last one I'll actually come to is, I don't know if it's actually a fear, but it's just more a fear of intimidation. And I can share with you that this fear actually recently came up, and it's about just feeling that sense that what you're going into, I mean, this is for me, what you are actually going into, maybe the business that you're going into or the people that you're going to be working with, that they have almost like a glass ceiling set for you. And they tell you, you know, I'm at a certain level and you are barely starting. So therefore, you need to come up the ranks to be able to deal in my range, you know, my field. Being intimidated, though, can really freeze you. I know I personally have had this experience of, you know, being like kind of met right, you know, face to face, and just like, okay, I'm gonna back down because I don't know as much as that person. But how will you ever really get to know enough? How will you ever really be able to break through that unless you're able to stand in your power and claim it? I'll take a quick look over at the chat box. I know somebody's typing a question regarding this. Regarding fear of success. So that's actually going back to the last topic that we were talking about. I will address this one now, I think. So let's take a look. Fear of success. So fear of success, how may they be related in your personal life and your business? That's a good question. Fear of success, it can be related in, how can they be related within? It can be related in a lot of different ways. I'll choose one that really just kind of pops up to mind, and how your fear of leaving people behind, and that's mainly in your personal life, it almost anchors you down in your business. So just imagine, you know, you are stopping yourself from even launching or going forward. And what you've done is you kind of just put, you know, like an ankle brace on you. You know, the people talk about the ball and chain. You're almost putting like a weight attached to your ankle. And you're just not allowing yourself to go forward. So in your business, how this can actually relate is it can, again, allow you or prevent you from going forward. So when you need to make an actual move, whether it's be, you know, buy a certain program or maybe finally upload your copy that states what it is that you're offering, you'll always have this kind of ball and chain in a sense that's preventing you from going forward, because you're always going to be second guessing yourself. Is that the right message? Did I use the right words? Is this the right program? Like, is what I'm offering really good enough? So that's where I see the correlation between the two, is you willingly put this ball and chain on yourself on the life side. And when it's time for you to really focus, you know, switch gears and focus and go into your business and growth, you also still have this ball and chain that's there holding you back. So I type in another question if you have one a little bit deeper about that thought, but that's what I have experienced in my life. So the next question, and actually this goes into the next topic that we're talking about, and that's the fear that we have from intimidation, and people intimidating us, or circumstances intimidating us, or situations intimidating us. So the question here comes, intimidation has come up not only as fear, only, but intimidated in the sense of success, because success is money. So the money belief is in some way believed it is undeserving, not for anyone else, but to you. Those are great insights. And that actually comes from Violet Lola White. Yeah, I hear what you're saying with the intimidation and the money beliefs, and how it's really holding us back as women entrepreneurs. So yeah, the whole money thing. I think what's really kind of coming up for me with the money thing are the feelings that we have inherent in our system around money. And as with any real experience or any block that you might have, is all of these blocks, most of them, have been rooted way before. I mean, I don't know, I'm in my 40s, so decades for me, over 35 years ago. They've been rooted there. And the easiest way to always kind of discover and really excavate that is to really take some time to reflect on where you heard that first. And it's a process. It's not something that can be done like that, although some people can. Again, exception, not the rule. But it's actually spending some time with yourself to be able to really find out who planted that in your head in the first place. Because as I said earlier with choice, we have a choice as to how we're going to look at any situation. We have a choice to put meaning to anything. I have a choice to put meaning to this computer that's actually broadcasting live. And I say it's a computer because that's what I say, and there it is. Anything that you experience or that you have or that is coming for you is the meaning that you're giving to it, and that you're actually choosing to give it. When we're faced with, success, and obviously success means, or does success for you mean being financially wealthy? And maybe at some point it was given that being financially wealthy was dirty, or people didn't do the right things if they were wealthy, or, it's them, not us. And, the whole idea of not wanting to kind of turn a blind eye to us as the family. Because who, after all these years in life, who wants to really shun their family? Like, who really wants to be able to say, I don't believe that, I don't want to be a part of that anymore? And that's what I see kind of happening. I see that if you're putting success versus money, or success equals money, and you were told that money was bad, money was dirty, then you're never going to allow yourself to actually feel that success, because you, in a way, you always want to, you feel safe being in that family bubble, that family, kind of, well, really like a bubble. Like, it's where most of our memories come from, like our first memories. It's, our family is, regardless of how messed up our families could have been, because there is no one picture perfect family out there. Like, we all had our issues, but no matter how many issues you've had, they're still your family. And if you find yourself holding yourself back for success because you were told as a little girl or a little boy that success equaled money, then you're going to actually hold yourself back from ever achieving that money. But just knowing that the two can coexist, it can be that quick as a mindset shift that, You realize that's where it was anchored in. These people will always love you regardless. And reminding yourself of that. And not only that, I'll even go further and say, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you as well. It could be your spouse, it could be your sister, a best friend, even a mastermind partner. But being able to have somebody that relates to what you're saying and really truly wants the best for you is what will help you push forward. In some cases, it's a coach that can really be there for you, support you, basically hold space for you to go forth. And what kind of pops up for me right now is, it's not a one or the other. It's not that it's either your family or money, and that's all. Like, there is no gray, there is no area in the middle. You can have both. Maybe in the beginning, if family does shun you, maybe they won't be around for a little while, but they'll always be there for you, regardless, always. Blood is blood. And I've always been told that, and that's what I do believe. And, all of my blood family relationships aren't perfect, but I know that at the drop of a hat, if I really need somebody, they'll be there for me. So I hope that resonated with you. We have a couple questions over here. Let me clear this up. Okay, this one's been answered. Address. Thank you very much for sending in those questions. I really do hope it connected. Sounds like it did. So, all right, going next. Super. A quick water break. We should probably do. It's funny, I actually made a note about this, but I already led into it, and that's the fact that becoming successful doesn't mean you're taking away from anyone or that you're actually leaving anyone behind. Becoming successful, in my opinion, again, is living out our best lives, living out the fullest expression of what God and the universe really wanted us to live, because that's all they want for us. They want the best. They want beauty. They want happiness. Happiness is probably the number one answer. I know when somebody asked me years ago, it's like, what do you want? What do you want? It's like, I just want happiness. Like, it really doesn't matter if it comes to me from an ice cream cone or from visiting friends. It's just, I just want to be happy. And taking the time to really foster that into your life is where all the joy comes from. So if building a business is what's going to bring you happiness and true full expression, and being successful in that business is going to allow you to give back even more, that's your idea of being successful. And it doesn't mean that the people that were on your road or on your path for years gone back to when you were born, doesn't mean that you're leaving them behind. It just means that they're still there. Maybe they're not going to follow you along your journey, but once you get to where you want to get, hopefully there'll be a reconnection. And hopefully it wasn't totally severed, but that you can actually reconnect, and they can see that by you achieving what it is that you want to achieve, that you're able to give back to them even more. Something else just came up for me, and that's philanthropist. I don't know if you've actually read my About page, but I do mention that in there, and that's once in the last number of years, and anybody's asked me what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a philanthropist. I want to be able to give back as much as I've been given and more, because I know that, and most of this, a lot of it is around money. Money does really make the world go round. And being able to be successful and have that bank account that reflects it allows you to be able to just expand and give to anyone that you desire to. I have a dear space in my heart for the Pattaya orphanage in Thailand, and I look forward to being able to give back to them as much as they gave to me. I spent a summer there years ago, and it was amazing how much I actually came away with. And I mean, I saw the faces, the looks on the kids' faces, and they loved doing exercise with me and running around and going to the farm. But it was really, when I look back at the pictures that were taken, the joy was 100 times more in my face. Like I can't even put into words the joy that I felt from being able to give back. And in Thailand, it was maybe $5 to buy, crepe pot. I can't remember the last names of them, but there were these little cookies for them. You love that stuff. So, off topic there. Sorry about that. So again, you becoming a success doesn't mean that you're having to leave anybody behind. You can either bring them with you or reconnect with them once you get there. So I'm going to shoot on over to the chat box and see what questions we have over there. And by the way, if you have joined late and you'd like to actually ask a question, simply click on the Join the Conversation Now link at YouTube. Or if you're already in Google Hangouts, you will actually search for the little squares in this area or this area, the 9 squares, hover over, click on the Q&A app, and once the side panel opens up, ask your question and I'll read it for you. So questions, let me see if this is a question or more a topic. I think it's definitely leaving someone behind. So this is actually talking about the success that we just spoke of. So I think it's definitely leaving someone behind. Family really, in some sense, you have change and have to show tough love. I always hear that, tough love. What does tough love mean in relation to success, would you say? So what does tough love mean in relation to success? I am just going to select this one as an answer. So tough love, I'm going to take a guess here that you were meaning that you expressing tough love, meaning success, right? Not necessarily you're receiving tough love from the others. So define tough love. To have the definition of tough love, that's normally like you're trying to teach somebody a lesson. What I'm doing right now in my life is for the good of you. And I guess I'm not really looking at it in that sense when we're talking about doing something for ourselves and becoming successful. Although that might happen down the road, I don't think that's necessarily the driving force. So the tough love per se, it's if you're sitting and you're experiencing and you're telling your family or friends that you're doing this for their better good, and how that holds you back from success. I mean, obviously it could be because they are actually meeting you, confronting you, saying, I don't need that. I don't want that part of you. I don't want it expressed in that way. And I think it's just really more of a shift in perspective as to you maybe not necessarily calling it tough love, because although we might be fueled by doing our businesses or going forth and what it is that we're going forth in, although it might be fueled because we know this is going to create a better life for our family, our small family, or my sisters and my brothers or aunts and uncles. That's great overall picture to have, but I would say to really hone in so that you can continue going forward would really be focusing on what it's doing for you. Forget about everybody, forget about, what it's doing for sister, brother, whatnot, and really just focus on what it's doing for you. Because as we all know, if you can't give to yourself, if you can't accept yourself for what it is that you're doing, you're not ever going to be able to give back to anybody. That's just kind of a byproduct of you taking care of yourself and you going for the goals and you living by experience and living by example. So I hope that kind of makes sense in really kind of shifting the perspective of tough love. You know, maybe you're giving that tough love the meaning. And I would almost, not knowing the whole picture, I would almost say if I were in that situation, I can actually put myself there, is there anything to do with playing the martyr? Is there anything to do with all this is on my shoulders and I have to do this for my family and I have to do this to show my friends? You know, there could be a lot of responsibility placed on you as a child. I had that responsibility myself. And when I really noticed the shift for myself was really the change of perspective. When I really realized that everybody else is going forth and living their lives. Everybody else is having kids and moving to different countries and living their life. Yes, we're still connected and I'm still there for them. But when I then kind of looked in the mirror and looked back at myself and saw I haven't allowed myself to move forward because it was honestly, I was playing the martyr to being there for them, doing things for them, you know, creating my business for them. And it wasn't until I started doing it for myself that I really got to take in the pleasure and finally be able to give back. So if that resonates at all, I hope it did help. Okay, so this one here. That was an answer, yes. Okay. We have one more question. Let me take a look here. So I think this feedback on that. So it's a total mindset then. It makes sense. It's almost like there's a right, wrong, or something that will be lost in efforts to attain money or success. Yeah, and then your follow-up question about, yes, so that has always been the identity, savior. And now it's the challenge to rewrite that identity. And that's true. And knowing that you have the power to actually be able to rewrite that identity is encouraging, is what will help you move forward. It's what will keep you present. Because the only time we have is really right now. We might have goals, a 5-year, 10-year goal, but the only time that you presently have any control over is what's happening right now. So remind yourself of that whenever you're doing any kind of exercise or partaking in any kind of business building, and look at the motivation behind it. So again, your time is now, and anything that you have to do now to rewrite your identity is going to serve you in the future, but it's really mostly going to serve you now. Right. So I'm going to get these cleared up. If you have any other questions, please type them in. Let me see if this is an actual question. So it's totally nice with them. It makes sense. That had to do with that there's a right or wrong, and something will be lost in the efforts to attain money or success. There is really no right or wrong. It's only what meaning you give to it. And we each have our own values, we each have our own ethics, and maybe they match those of our families and the people who are closest to us. And for the most part, they do. I know, at least within families, they do. But nothing will really be lost. It's just the choice of the meaning that you choose to give to that. Your family might choose to give it a wrong reason, but you might actually choose to give it the right reason. So it's all in your perception and also in the way that you experience it and you live the life. So I hope that helped. Thank you for your questions. All right, so it looks like we have 10 minutes left. I did have a couple other comments here that I wanted to address. And thank you very much again for answering the questions. The dialogue is great. We are looking at actually creating this as a live stream where you'll be able to ask your questions live at some point. So still doing some research on that. Stay tuned. All right. So the other topic I had was about regrounding and reconnecting to your true purpose in life. And actually, regrounding and reconnecting is probably the most important task that you can do. It's, I found myself in the past being in overwhelm. I've found myself in the past going about things just because I know what needs to get done, and I just keep going. And downloading the ebooks, going into the opt-ins. And when I found myself not actually following through with everything that I had set my mind to, the easiest thing for me to do, which was right in front of me, but I didn't do for a while, was really reconnecting, regrounding, like we did at the beginning of the session. You know, just pausing, taking a very deep breath, and just really settling into where it is that you are. Just like that. So really regrounding, reconnecting with what it is that you do will give you that whole purpose again. It reignites why you're doing what you're doing. And it really is probably the most important piece with having you make decisions to move forward towards your goal. I mean, number one, you have to have your clear goals set up. You have to really know what it is that you desire to do, what you desire to accomplish, and working forward on that every day to do something towards that'll get you to that goal. So reconnecting, regrounding, and being absolutely clear on what it is that you want and need to really accomplish to get you there. There's a lot to do with time management. I've talked about time management a lot in our previous episodes, and I'll touch on it again here, where if you're working, for example, in a business or even in your life towards the end goal, which, you know, is just to have a happy life, for me at least, if you don't have a goal in sight, if you don't have an actual end of what it is that you want to accomplish, you're like a sailboat without a sail, or without a rudder, they say. You'll basically just be kind of drifting, and yeah, you will make some progresses towards your business, and you'll have some successes here or there, but there is nothing quite like being very definite in your desires, and being very definite in what it is that you want to accomplish, and being very definite in the steps to get you there. Each huge goal is made up of hundreds of tiny goals. And if the best thing to do is create your goal and work it backwards. Work it back, which is really why I advocate hugely the planning. And I shared with you guys before, and I'll quickly touch on it again, the quarterly planning that I have. I don't have it handy. Nope, it's in another room. But basically, the month before the quarter starts, I start planning out my next quarter. And my quarterly plan just kind of throws out my big goals, things I want to accomplish. The next thing I do is I go into my monthly goals. So completing my monthly goals, having my quarterly plan next to me, open, and choosing the dates or the weeks that I'm going to do the activities to get me there. One of the new columns that I've added in my quarterly planning is to assign it an accomplishment kind of table. And the accomplishment table is really to do with, is this going to take like monthly effort, weekly effort, or daily effort? Because a big goal is not going to be accomplished with just a quarterly effort. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is my goal for the quarter, and it's going to get done. Typically, your quarterly goals are much bigger. So breaking them down and even assigning them how often you're going to work on them really creates a blueprint, an outline for you to be able to go forth and see those goals come true. So again, I create my quarter, I go to my month with my quarter open, and the same thing for my weekly. And then my weekly, I actually go into my days. My day planning is really the most intense, and that really does get done every day, whether it's every morning or every evening, so you can assess what happened and what needs to go forth and really plug in what you need to do. I recently heard somebody new that I started following, Miro Samuel. I heard something from him about, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. What happened there? Let me take a drink of water, see if it comes back. We're talking about planning and our daily goals. Oh, our daily goals. And even planning your actual education experience. In the services that we're in, the coaching community, you never stop learning. If you're not in a program, you're probably reading a book or whatnot, but you're always learning. You could even be learning just from really working with your clients, because something might come up for you and you think, okay, I need to do a little bit more research on this. But what Miro Samuel mentioned recently was the fact that he spends, there was some conflicting information, he said 2 to 4 hours, I think it was, or 6 even, per day, actually honing his craft. So what that involves, I'm not exactly sure. It could, of course, be reading, meditating, doing exercises to really hone in on the human psyche and really hone in on the goals of the clients that you're serving. So that is one of the things that I've started really planning into my day. I mean, I've always done the kind of learning. I'm always listening to some kind of audiobook, but to actively really sit and be dedicated to what it is that I'm learning, planning a minimum of 2 hours a day, minimum, has really helped. It really keeps you focused. It's time that you give to yourself to really hone your craft and become a master, really become a master. I believe it's Malcolm Gladwell who talks about honing your craft and becoming a master, and it taking 10,000 hours. So 10,000 hours of doing one activity, boom, you become a master. And if you really break that down, I want to say it's within a 10-year period. If you spend 3.3333 hours per day, that's weekends included, you will, after 10 years, you will become a master in that craft. So just a little tidbit of information. I know that went off topic, but if you really want to hone in on something and master it, put the time in, actually accomplish it, and you'll get there. So without further ado, this has actually been a great call. I'm really excited that we had some people on the line asking questions, and I really hope that this has been of service to you. I started doing these calls because I knew I had information to share, but I also knew that there were people out there who just had questions and really wanted to have a space to be able to ask them. I would love to hear your comments and your feedback about the format, any reflections that you might have had on this actual episode. Feel free to post them up on my Facebook page. That's where you can type in your comments. So it's facebook.com/Isabel Starck. Or if you'd like to come into my Facebook group, which is called the Fiercely Feminine Entrepreneurs. So it's facebook.com/groups/fiercefemfab. Happy to have you there. Happy to receive your feedback. And my goal is to actually make this show interactive and exciting for you. And if there's any tips or tricks that you would like me to incorporate, I am happy to take a look at them. So thank you again for your time. I know how precious it is. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week and every week, Wednesdays, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, same place, same channel. Thanks a lot. Have a great one. Bye for now. Okay, I could answer the last question.